sorted out there. So just sitting in my driveway here. Let me get my truck started here. I can get the, if I just open the door. There we go. Get the light turned on. Oh my goodness, not doing a very good job here at this live one. So this morning I woke up at around 4 a.m., drove from London all the way down to Colchester, and I ended up walking out onto Lake Erie. The ice there is unbelievable. This was actually the first time in my life that I've gone ice fishing on Lake Erie. And I recorded some YouTube footage, so I'm going to rehash this in the video, but I lived in the Windsor area, which is near Colchester, for the first 20 years of my life. And we did ice fishing on Lake St. Clair, but we never went out on Lake Erie. My grandpa, who I went fishing with, was pretty uneasy going out onto the big lake there. Not that Lake St. Clair is small, but relatively speaking, it is. So never went ice fishing out on Lake Erie. And then since moving back to this neck of the woods about a decade ago, I've just never had the opportunity to go. And the last 5 years in particular, that section of the lake, especially on the Canadian side, hasn't really iced over, or at least it hasn't iced over enough for me to venture out there. So anyway, got down there, got out onto the ice super early. I set up in about 20 feet of water. There was probably about 20 other pop-up huts, all kind of not necessarily in the same area, but we were kind of spread out across the lake, but all in about that 20-foot range. And didn't really mark much the first couple of hours. I ended up marking a really big mark in the first like 5 minutes, which got me excited, but then it really died off. So I ended up hopping out of my hut and kind of punched some holes. I punched about 5 holes within, I'd say, about a quarter mile of my hut, just to kind of see if I could find anything, and wasn't marking much at all. So I went back to my hut and I hunkered down in there for another few hours. And so pretty much from the morning till about noon, I marked like one fish. And then I ended up talking to a couple of guys that were coming back. They were out pretty deep. And so I was talking to them, how are they doing? They managed to pick up a few. And I asked them, like, what were the ice conditions on the way out there? And they kind of explained to me there was a little bit of a trail that led out a little bit deeper. So I was a little hesitant to go out any further than I was, especially because the further out you go, the more what do they call them? Expansion cracks that there are and stuff like that. So I'm not going to lie. I'm not a guy that does a lot of ice fishing, so if you get out in the big open water like that, I start to get a little uneasy when you start getting around the expansion cracks. But there was guys driving their ATVs and snowmobiles out there. So anyway, they kind of showed me where to go, the trail that they were taking. So I ended up tearing down my hut halfway through the day, ended up, I think I probably went another 3/4 of a mile from where I was. So I ended up going into about 23 feet of water is where I ended up hunkering down for the rest of the day. And I'm glad I made that move. I didn't think I was going to. I didn't think I was going to make that move, but I'm glad I did, because immediately I started marking fish. And so I ended up catching, I got 2 walleye topside. I caught a really nice perch. I lost another walleye on the way up. And I had a bunch of action. There was a lot of fish around, which kept me really, busy, especially after the morning I had had. Caught a really nice 25-inch, real fat, thick female, which was a lot of fun. I cycled through a lot of different lures because, like I said, I was marking lots of fish, but they weren't really hitting. and I ended up catching everything just on a jig and a minnow. So as you know, if you follow the channel at all, I really like Better Bites tackle, and so I was using their, I think it's their sunset color. It's it's very close to it's very close to what the heck color is that I'm thinking of? Anyways, it's like a chartreuse and orange. So that's the jig that I was using with the salted minnow. I only had salted minnows today. And I also had a rattle bait down the hole. And so what I was doing was I had the rattle bait set up about 7 feet off the bottom, and I essentially just sat there and rattled that. And, you know, fish were coming through and coming to take a look at it. And then I had my jig ready to go and had a lot of fun. The numbers weren't great, but that was a personal, that 25 incher, that was a personal best for me out of the ice. I've never caught a walleye that big through the ice. So, was it worth the like 5 hour trip and probably like the 2 or 3 hours of walking I had to do? Maybe. It was a lot of work for it was a lot of work, but it was a great day. Weather was fantastic, nice and mild. I think that mild weather was making the ice shift around a lot because, man, oh man, was it making some crazy noises. But anyways, had a great time, and yep, that's it. That's all for this outing recap. So if you guys are wanting to catch some walleye or get out and have some fun on the big water, I would suggest heading down that way. We're supposed to have a little bit of a warm up the next little while, so who knows how long that ice will last. Anyways, take care, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Catch you on the next one.